Morning guys, Thursday the 10th of September. A bit crisper actually, just a bit of a nip in the air this morning. I put a post up on the Courageous Conversations group about asking people about what their favourite books were and what it meant to them, and I put up some of mine, and I was just sort of thinking a little bit more, I suppose, about what books mean, how much I have grown up with books, my life centres around books. And I think it's not only the learning I can get from books, particularly the type of books I read in terms of personal development, and even stories that have a more story-like slant on them. Still, often I read stuff that has, other messages to offer. Like, for example, the book Five People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. Although it's not based on actual real events, the idea throughout the rest of all the stories is that you ultimately never quite know the impact you have, the impact your actions take, because you may never quite know what that next action was that somebody took, because of other events that happen. So there's books like that as well that I enjoy, because they have more of a message in them. And then what really sort of fascinated me was when Rosie put on the group page about one of her top 5 books was the Bible, and I'd almost forgotten that I've got a Bible which I had was presented to me at Sunday school, and so worked out. In fact, it actually has a thing at the front of the Bible saying the date it was presented. So that's nearly 42 years old. So I was like, wow. That's definitely the oldest book I've got that I own. I also imagine for some people it's one of the oldest books, but it's been around for quite a long time. I also remember when I was younger, my reading was very much comics. I used to love that piece about looking forward to certain days or weeks where you get the comic, and that real build up and looking forward to an excitement, particularly as with some of them there was ongoing stories over a number of weeks, so you had to wait to know what was going to happen next. I think that is a really good lesson, that you don't get everything offered straight away. You're not going to find out and know something straight away. You've got to have that level of tolerance to wait, and patience. And I remember when I was doing my paper round in my teens that I would literally save up practically every single bit of pocket money, and all my paper round money in particular. That was the key money I saved. And then I'd order about, 12, 15 annuals of every kind of comic and magazine I'd normally get. And they'd all come at Christmas, and I'd have this massive box arrive at at the paper shop, and I'd just then have this real excitement at having them all and just flicking through them, smelling the pages, spending hours and hours, because I'm quite a fast reader as well, so I can't say they lasted that long considering there's that many of them. I think some of the comics and magazines that and some of the books actually I probably read when I was a lot younger were also more fantasy, sort of stories where you'd imagine going off into another world. I remember, I'm sure it was called Misty. I used to get some magazine that was quite, much more fantasy led, and the figures in them, were much more fantastical, for want of a better term. I think I almost just imagine I was, one of those figures, if you like. So I do think also books and stories have an amazing ability to be able to take somebody to another world, that can both allow you to imagine you could, go to those worlds, and also it can help as a distraction at times from where you are. I remember when the Kindle came out, and I could really see its benefit for not having the weight of books to take with you on holiday. That was the key thing that stuck in my head, because I'm one of them that, when I go on holiday I love the opportunity to read. So I tend to put in a number of books. So I always saw that benefit, but I was so reluctant. I never actually got one in the end, nearly. But I was really reluctant to get a Kindle because I just really, really do gain some pleasure out of that physical interaction with feeling the book, smelling the book, turning the pages, feeling like it becomes your own, it becomes part of you. And also I do, generally tend to do things like turn pages. There's a number of my books I've actually written on, shaded in and so on, so can't really do that with a Kindle. So I like that level of when I think about it, almost the level of relationship that I think you can develop with a book. I suppose it's a bit like any relationship. Some books, it's like it so draws you in, so intense, you literally can't let it go. It's like, what, more and more and more. And then there's other books where you may pick it up for a bit and then go, oh, but I've got so much else to do, and I'll come back to you in a while. And you may do. There may be others that are all sitting together waiting to see if they get to be next, so they come up to the top of the list, or the top of the priority, if you like, the pile of books. And I love them also playing around with the idea of what creates books. So, for example, some of the clients that I work with, have worked with in the past, then I'll also get creative about asking questions like, oh, you know, if your life was a book and it had a title, what would your title be? You know, if each 5 or 10 years of your life was titled a chapter, what would the chapter be called? What genre would it be? You know, comedy, drama, fantasy, etc. If there were characters that played your people, you know, that represent certain people in your life, who would they be? And that can, you know, it can open up a different way of engaging somebody with their own life and how they perceive it. And also, I've done stuff as well where I've adapted the idea of that. So, okay, so if the book of your life was made into a film, you know, what actors and actresses would you have to play certain key people? Then I've written other things that are not quite books, but quite substantial, like, you know, say a journal type amount. So, you know, for example, I've mentioned recently about how I'd written for a number of months on each page to my mum and to my daughter. So that creates some level of, there's a story in my mind about how I feel that enabled me to express what I'd like to say, to process stuff, to imagine they're connecting on some level, even though I know, you know, obviously they're not in that sense because obviously, you know, mum's dead, but still gives me an opportunity to feel I'm somehow connecting with both of them in that way. That's an imaginary kind of story that brings almost some level of, yeah, peace, I suppose, around that. And then also there's, in people's lives, there's another piece which I suppose is the, you know, the hidden stories, the untold stories, the secret stories. That's always a fascinating piece in itself. So yeah, so I was thinking about today, you know, what's the story you have in yourself? What's your story that you want to tell? Or perhaps you want to rewrite the script of your own story at the moment. So guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. Have the rest of a tutti frutti tweety tasty Thursday, and I shall speak to you later, guys. Bye.